Hello, this is Jeff Neville for Selective Imagery. Welcome to Spoonies Plus. I guess you could figure out what this is all about. Listen, I appreciate it if you give me a like and subscribe and share with your friends and leave a comment after you've watched this video. And if there's something about it you didn't like or something that could be done better, hey, feel free to let me know in the comments section. Just be civil about it. That's all I ask. So hopefully you enjoy this video and let's get right to it. And here we are early in the morning where the Spoonies have flown over from the pond side and landed here next to the nature center on the marsh side. And there's about 6 or 8 of them. This is a grouping of 4. And the light really isn't very good, although it looks pretty good in the video. But for stills, I mean, it was like shooting ISO 8000, ISO 10,000 sometimes, depending on whether they were in flight or not. But at this point, they're not really feeding. It's not low tide. The tide is coming in. And they're just kind of like stretching and a little bit of preening, a little bit of just, taking a nap. Some of them just have their eyes closed and they're taking a nap. But that's what they like to do. I mean, the content in the video today is going to be mostly from what is near the nature center on the marsh side, because the causeway has activity with construction. They're replacing sections of the sidewalk. Eventually they got to put new guardrails in. They're going to retar the road. They have a leaky pipe that they have to fix that runs under the road. So there's a lot of work to be done. So with all the noise of construction activity, the birds are hanging out in the trees. They're not really in the water too much. So I'm going to be shooting in different areas of the park as a result of that. But hey, I'm not complaining. When I get a group of spoonbills together, you have nothing to complain about. Like I said, they're fun to watch, and probably the 3 most requested creatures that people want to see are alligators are number 1, painted bunting is probably number 2, and a close number 3 would be spoonbills. Now, in an earlier still, you saw the beak of one of the spoonbills up in the air, and usually when they start lifting their heads up in the air, it's an indication that they're considering flying off pretty soon. And here's another video clip where they've a few of them have gathered up near some tricolored herons and some snowy egrets. I mean, the spoonbills rarely get into fights with one another. I mean, occasionally there's a little scuffle where they hit their beaks together or whatever, and that's about it. Never any overly aggressive behavior. Not like a snowy. I mean, here the snowies right now are being good, but you talk about a bird that can just turn on a dime and change its attitude real quick. They'll go after each other, and they'll go after birds of similar size. I mean, I've got pictures of them chasing tricolor herons, and the tricolor is roughly the same size. Here's a few more still images. Okay, here's where one of them flies off. Now, usually when one takes off, they all tend to follow. and eventually there was only one left. So eventually that one said, hey guys, I'm not going to sit here all by myself. I'm going to take off too. So here's some bird in flight pictures. I know a lot of you like images of birds in flight versus static shots, and I'm kind of 50-50. I like both. I mean, I like environmental photos with birds. I like reflections in the water, which you'll see some of those later. I do enjoy them in flight. Obviously, I enjoy ospreys in flight when they're diving for fish, or if you're lucky enough to get an eagle. But there's a lot of interesting stills that you can capture where the birds are not flying. That where you exhibit behavior, whether it's scratching themselves or preening themselves, or smaller birds eating bugs. This particular bird is a seaside sparrow, and I like this shot because its legs are on different blades of grass. Reminds me of how American Gladiator, when they have to go up the chute to go hit the buzzer, and they have to spread their arms and legs across and shimmy on up. Green herons. Great egret preening. Got a short video with a great egret here coming up. And what's interesting with this video is, at first you think it's looking for fish. I mean, the water, you can tell the water isn't crazy deep here. It's not touching the body. Pretty high up on the legs, but it's not touching the body yet. But as you'll soon see, it spends a lot of time, stretching its neck and looking upwards. Now, I'm not really sure if a great egret will eat a smaller bird. I'm sure it will if the opportunity presents itself, but when it's looking up, I mean, I've seen green herons eat dragonflies, eat different kinds of insects. And so when it starts looking up at the reeds and staring at the reeds, I don't know if it's looking for insects or if it's looking for one of those poor little seaside sparrows that like to hang out on the very tops of the reeds. But they don't typically stay on any one reed or blade of grass for any length of time. They pretty much fly from one area to the next constantly. But as you'll see with this great egret, it spends a lot of time of great interest, just looking around, looking up, shakes its head, poke its head in between rows of reeds, figuring out, okay, what path do I want to take? It'll work its way around like it is here, go on the other side. But I'll be darned if I actually saw anything that was a food item. But it sure acted like it was looking for something, and it definitely, well, obviously it wasn't fish because it's looking up, it's not looking down. Now, many of these birds are out farther in the reeds where, there could be dozens of them out in the reeds, and unless they're, close to where this walkway is that's near the nature center, unless it's, within 30-40 feet of that, I mean, you really can't see them, or you may just see the tops of their heads. But here's that behavior. I mean, he or she is just looking straight up, and looking at something, but I don't know what. And once again, it pulls back. And there it goes, maneuvering its head, you know, from one side of the reed to the other side of the reed. And then it just starts walking again. So, I don't know what was so interesting. Maybe some other time I'll be lucky enough to see it, you know, grab something, and I hope it's a bug. I hope it's not another bird. That's not pleasant. Now, here's a few pictures of the ibis, and the second picture, the next picture coming up, I talked about the nictitating membrane that covers the eye. Well, there it is. See how the eye has white while the head's in the water? Protects the eye. I talked about that in my last video, but that was a good picture where you could see it in detail. And all birds have them. And like I said, it's either they don't want to get their eyeball wet or scratched by something that's in the water, or they'll close it when they're attacking prey. And here's some just, I mean, I like these. These are just nice reflection shots capturing the environment that the bird lives in. And what looks like little rocks or pieces of mud are snails. So there's snails all over the place. And then just before I left, I'm driving up the road, I'm in the car. I pull my car over because I see this osprey, and it basically just ripped the gills out of that fish. Now we're in a whole different location. We're actually in Brookfield Gardens, which is like a mile away down the road. Now, this is an eastern tiger swallowtail. We have a few shots of that. And then we have a Gulf fritillary. I have a few pictures of this butterfly. So my intent wasn't to get butterflies, although there's plenty of them here at Brookfield Gardens. My intent was to get hummingbirds. Easier said than done. Managed to get a few pictures, but I mean, if you're lucky enough where you have a feeder in your yard and you have the plants like this that they like to feed off of, and you can set up a blind or whatever, I mean, you can get obviously a lot closer shots. Tree frogs were in here. This one wasn't too smart. It should be on one of the leaves so it isn't spotted. And then you have this lizard laying across the dead part of the leaf, which I thought was nice. And that's it for today. Like I said, if you liked it, please give me a like, subscribe, share, and remember, as I say, enjoy life, capture some of it. Until next time, happy shooting. I hope you guys all get out and get some great shots for yourself. Take care.